Welcome, everybody. This is the new Doomsayer show. It's, I'm kind of out of whack here because Logic is basically taking care of everything. Usually, I have this I don't know what it is, control thing factor. I'm like off my whatever you want to call it. So, but I got the guys here. Actually, Logic got the guys here. So what I'm going to do is introduce the fellas, and hopefully Retro will pop in here. And I did get an update from KY Bob, so he might be jumping in at some point. We'll see what happens. He had sort of an emergency and that kind of thing. But let's just get to the intros. Mr. Faulkner, how are you doing today?
Hello. Doing quite well, thank you. Watching the sunrise from my office. It's a lovely day ahead for us down here in the southern country.
As Brap used to, or I don't know if Brap says this because I have not been tuning into podcasts lately, but I remember he used to sit there and say, "So we made it to another day."
Yes, you made it to Sunday morning.
I don't even want to think about Sunday morning. I'm just trying to enjoy Saturday. That's basically it. I try to extend the weekend as much as I possibly can in that. So I'll actually be going to the movies tonight. So to see a movie, I don't know how interested I am, but I'll try my best to see if my wife wants to hold my hand, who's giving me one kind of a horrible look. So Logic, how are you doing today? Thank you for putting all this together. I know what a pain in the ass it is, but how are you doing today?
Yeah, no, it's no problem at all, man. It's actually really simple. We used to do the same thing you used to do on the show, use Discord, and that was just a nightmare. So moving to StreamYard makes things like elementary school levels of easy. So I can replicate like I literally have like 4, I think, standing studios now. So literally standing up a new studio is just replicating what I did in one studio over to another and changing the names and faces to protect the innocent.
See, what was it? It was last week. I was just dilly dallying around, and I can't remember this gentleman's name that I seen on, or I'm a subscriber to his channel on YouTube. But he does like all the plugins and everything else for like OBS. He teaches you. Like he's always wearing really cool shirts. I think that one day he was wearing an Opeth shirt or something like that. I'm like, oh shit. Are we allowed to curse? I don't.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll keep it to a minimum in that. But he was going over and he's like, hey, he says, he took StreamYard Restream, and then he went with, it was called Riverside. And I was amazed by Riverside. I sat there, if I can actually get things together here in my head and all, would actually go to Riverside because there's like an editing tool or something like that you can sit there and edit, and then it'll actually do the stuff for you, put it as a reel or a TikTok or something like that. I was like, oh, you know what? That's not bad. But yeah, you'll have to show me how to set all this stuff up with StreamYard and everything if I ever get my crap together. So let's get to what you guys been playing. So Logic, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. I was up to the wee hours of the morning because I downloaded a new airframe and could not fly it well. I actually, so way back in the day when I first started playing flight simulators, I started. Well, I mean, I played flight simulators for years, but the first one that I played when I kind of returned to PC. Hey, what's up, RPG88 in the chat? Thanks so much for coming through. I started with a game called Falcon 4.0, and the way Falcon 4.0 played is you could go aloft, you could knock your mission out, achieve all your objectives, come back. If you muffed the landing, it wiped out all of that progress and any contribution you had made to your career. So I think I got programmed into this whole thing of like, if I muff the landing at the end of the session of playing a flight sim, then I've just wasted like 2 hours of my time. And actually, that's not the case. I got back up this morning. I was really like disappointed and depressed when I went to bed last night. Finally, at like 3 a.m. in the morning. But I got up this morning and I was like, no, that's not really the way this game plays. So I flew a quick hop between a couple regional airports in Maryland. Actually, came in for a landing at a regional airport off the Potomac, which is actually a really difficult landing because there's a tree line on like the descent path to the airport. So like you have to hit the glide slope perfectly. It's not as flexible as a lot of the other approaches I've made. And I was, like I said, I was flying a turboprop, the de Havilland. I think it's the 8300 or the 3800, which is funny because it's actually an aircraft I used to fly in a lot as a passenger on commuter flights 20 years ago when I was really high travel for work. So, um, but I did some learning curve during the flight. The takeoff, there were some things for me to learn. Cruising in that aircraft, there were some things for me to learn. I couldn't get the landing, so I reloaded the mission, switched over to a smaller aircraft that I'm more familiar with, and I was able to get the landing. So I think I need some time on that particular flying route because the airports are a little weird and the runways, and then I got to work some more with that aircraft. So it wasn't a complete waste. I convinced myself of that this morning when I woke up, and I've been playing that on PC. It gave me a chance to hook up my Logitech G Yoke flight control system, which I bought a couple years ago and it's been sitting around here collecting dust. And then other than that, I've been playing Elden Ring on PC and I picked up my Steam Deck OLED to use a couple times this week while I had to go and do some things out of the house where I had some down, I had to be out of the house, but I had some downtime once I was there. So I installed Dynasty Warriors Origins, which is a game that I picked up last year, but put, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 hours into it, but didn't finish it. So I went back because that's what the Steam Deck is great for, is doing chip damage on titles that you didn't finish.
I was gonna say with the whole flight simulator, I tried that and I was like, nope. I hate flying. This is just starting to be a little bit too realistic. I'm not doing this. And then what happened? No matter whatever it is, this is the reason why I stay away from vehicle based one like Battlefield. I do not fly helicopters or airplanes because I just suck. I'm just horrible at it. So I stay away from it. I'll run all over the place. I will run from one side of the map to the next. I'm not flying, so but yeah, that I try to stay away from that game. So David, what have you been playing lately? Hopefully not Flight Simulator.
No.
No?
I'm not good at that stuff. So I haven't been playing much actually. I've been pretty busy with work, but I finished Unicorn Overlord probably back in early February. Love that game. I absolutely enjoyed that one.
Such a great game.
It was just so addictive and it flowed well, and I enjoyed the story and the battle tactical stuff. There's so much depth to its combat, so much choice available in it. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of the best games I've played in the last 10 years. I just enjoyed it so much. But yeah, more recently, I've spent what time I've had available in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, playing through that. Again, big Yakuza series fan. This is the second of the turn-based ones with the new lead character. It's probably not my favorite way of playing these games, but I am enjoying it. It's probably a little bit more goofy and over the top than the last ones have been. But the depth in the turn-based RPG parts to it, JRPG parts to it, are actually really big development on the first crack at it. So I'm enjoying that. And then I occasionally, when I've got a 15, 20 minute for a quick little jump through, I've been doing a few little solo missions in Helldivers too, just to keep that ticking along. Which actually is they've done an awful lot of work to updating it over the last 6 months. There's a lot of variety coming through, which is good. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing.
I have a question for the two of you because you guys play more of these games than anything. A couple weeks ago, I went to go see my buddy. He sat there and he said he just got done playing this game, and let me know if you guys played it. It's called Record of Lodos War, Deed Lit in Wonder Labyrinth. He said
Haven't
it was
played,
great.
sorry.
He is a huge Castlevania fan. So huge that he goes every October because this is when he originally got the NES. He bought Castlevania in October. So every year he goes and plays all the Castlevanias on what is it? He breaks out his NES to play the ones that were on there, and then whatever else came out, he goes and plays through all the other systems and everything. But he's like, yo, you should check this out. I think he got it for like $6 because it was like on sale or something. He's like, it was fantastic. I'm like, all right, I'll have to check it out and that kind of thing. But I wanted to ask you guys if you ever heard of it, and if you did you ever play it? No.
No,
No,
not
sorry.
me. I know there's lots of JRPGs out there with really, I don't want to say weird names, but like, like 12 words in the title.
Yeah.
Like the Ease games. I mean, of course, obviously the Legend of Heroes games. The I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but the Altair Reza games. Yeah, but no, I've never heard of the one you mentioned.
Raichi sat there and said, it's peak, and he's played the game on Game Pass. It was good, but I'm not a Castlevania guy, so okay, all right. I mean, I like I said, I'll have to wind up checking it out and that when I get a little bit of extra money and that kind of thing. But the only thing I've been playing, like I told you guys before the show, I really haven't touched any kind of gaming since like early January. I know Retro and we did that platinum thing where I was going to platinum all these games, and I just lost total focus on all that. I did platinum Dirt, platinumed Outriders, Feather, just a couple oddball games in that. But yeah, I just lost all focus on it. Just you guys know exactly what was going on, but Blast Frenzy and Stunt Paradise are the other two games that I did. So that's all I just been playing Battlefield, just to try and keep some motivation and that kind of thing. My son came to me today. He's like, he's been sick for the week, and I'm like, you haven't been playing or anything. He's like, there's nothing I really want to play right now. I said, well, why don't we, play a couple of the games that I wanted to get into, like, Split Fiction. What's the other one? I got it on my tip of my tongue. Damn it. What's the other one before Split Fiction?
I think It Takes Two.
It Takes Two, yeah. So he's like, "Oh, I want to play It Takes Two." I'm like, "Oh, you know what? We'll jump in and maybe we'll start that tomorrow." So and see what happens. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I've been doing and that kind of thing. So we'll get the show going. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure if Logic, you probably know more than I do if Retro's going to be popping in. Like I said, Bob sat there and said he might be here in about 40 or 45 minutes. He had a little bit of a family thing, so we'll get the ball rolling here and everything. So I'm going off of Logic's notes here, which Logic has blown everything I've done in the past away. It's very organized. which my stuff is never organized. And that's why the shows stink. So, but let's get to the gaming news. So, BAFTA Game Award nominations came out. Claire Obscura leads with 12 nominations, which I have not played that game. I keep getting told to play that. I don't know. I kind of saw like a trailer in that, and Logic, I'm pretty sure you beat it, right? What? Okay, so before we really get into this, explain Claire Obscura to me. Is it like turn-based or something like that?
Yeah, so from a mechanics perspective, I think the most standout thing of it is turn-based, but it's a remix of turn-based, I guess I would say. So we have things like this in Final Fantasy, right? We have active time battle. We have other variations of we have Baldur's Gate 3, which kind of continues, I would call it, the DNA lineage of the original, Baldur's Gate 2, as well as you could see things like this in Knights of the Old Republic, and of course that's because I think the first Knights of the Old Republic was Obsidian, and Obsidian was the studio. There's lots of DNA at Obsidian that came from Black Isle, so we have these systems where it's turn based, but you can set up and configure it so that it plays like it's real time, and you can set signals for it to interact. Right? So Expedition's not like that, but my point is that we have these various variations of what is true turn based. So it is turn based, but the thing that it incorporates into it is it gives you basically an opportunity to do what I'll call like an intercept by way of the parry system. And so there are a couple variations on the theme, but the main thing is throughout the game, when the enemy attacks you during their turn, you have the ability to either parry or dodge. And when you parry successfully, you do a counterattack. And as the game progresses, there are variations of that theme. And as you skill up and gain new skills and powers, you start doing things like you'll run into enemies where you're really not going to beat them unless you parry, right? You hit points where parrying becomes so ridiculously powerful that for certain enemies it almost becomes essential. You hit these variations where the enemy attacks, and because the enemy attack that they're pulling off actually attacks your entire squad, that if you successfully dodge, and dodge takes like two different forms, because you can dodge on a singular character, but if the attack is attacking your whole squad, you can jump. And there are certain of those attacks and certain of those variations that then when you avoid and you counter, it's a counter coming from every member of your squad, and the damage impacted is massive. So it has a slight twinge of Souls games in it because of that parry system, and because of like having to learn each different enemy and learn their attack mechanics and the timing and things like that. So it's really pretty remarkable to me from that perspective.
Okay, David, have you tried Claire Obscura or played it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. See, I've never played a turn-based game. I have never played a single one or anything like that. So, would you guys recommend it to somebody who's never played turn-based? Or like I'm watching the chat in that, and RPG said, I guess it's the Ogre battle series. I have never heard of that. Yeah, that right there on the screen in that. What would you guys like recommend to somebody who's new to turn based? What would be something to kind of like start the ball rolling?
Any turn based or just turn based in general?
Turn based in general.
Ooh. Well, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII,
No.
that would kill two birds with one stone.
Is it the remake
Turn-based.
that? Should I play the remake or should go
No,
back to the original?
I still prefer the original over the remake, but for
Okay.
turn-based, it comes like turn-based exists in real-time strategy. It exists in tactics. It exists in JRPGs. There's a lot of different sub-genres that it sits in. Something like, I don't know, Unicorn Overlord or the Ogre series or Triangle Strategy or Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler. Like, it's not unique to Square Enix games, but most of their stuff is turn-based. Um, uh, Other games like Valkyrie Chronicles series. What was the other one I was just thinking of? XCOM. XCOM 2 actually is an RTS that you would probably like. It's turn-based. And either of the Like a Dragon games. There's plenty of them. It's just a very different approach to battles and battle management, because it's not like you get in there and just smash the buttons, and the amount of hits per second or DPS is not a thing with turn-based games. You don't have to worry about damage per second.
Okay.
You get the opportunity, if you set your characters up, you can have tank style, rogue style, healing style characters, and those sort of games. The flip side to that is you can have balanced characters. You can have ones that lean heavily into those different parts. But it's the battle tactics that itself where you've, again, depending on whether it's a tactic style or whether it's a lot like an action turn based, where you get to sort of, I shouldn't say you get to plan it ahead. You get to react and you get time to think about it and react. Yes, Dragon Quest 11 is another great one. Only the Dragon Quest games, Breath of Fire games were brilliant for it. The impact is that you sort of get to think about what you're doing and you can plan ahead. Uh, it can give you the opportunity to react to battle situations where you're on top and then suddenly you might not be, and then you can flick back to getting yourself healed up and trying a different approach. But I've always, like, I grew up with them because I mostly grew up with JRPGs, but I've always enjoyed them because it gives that sense of you can plan ahead and you can set your enemies up, and you can take the time to do it. Might sound like a really silly thing to say, but Pokemon is a brilliant turn-based game, with the newer ones having a lot more depth into their development of your monsters. Um, just trying to think. There's a few others there that I've probably glazed over, but those would be what I would say if you're not going to play Claire Obscurion, then go and play the first Final Fantasy VII game and then start from there. Because aside from that method of development and turn-based battling and character development, the storyline in that game is still phenomenal.
In Final Fantasy 7?
Final Fantasy VII, the original one,
Okay.
not the remake ones. The story that's in the first one is so relevant to today, still, nearly 30 years later. It makes you want to just keep pushing through it.
Okay.
And you can go at speed or you can go at your own pace. It's pretty decent, but it gives you a good understanding of how you can develop from just simple attack, defend, cast some magic, through to linking up different attacks that trigger off other attacks and having other party members supporting it, and structuring it all up that way.
Okay.
It
Okay.
can get quite, like, there's a loop. There's an infinite loop that because it just talks, how old games used to have bugs and issues and people would find these things. There's an infinite loop that you can set off just by setting up your characters in Final Fantasy VII against one of the ultimate weapons. I think it's Emerald Weapon. That you'll die. It will cast a summon that will revive you, and then Emerald Weapon's response will be to just automatically kill you because you've done so much damage to it. And then it loops again, and it loops again, and it loops again, and it loops again. Provided you've got your character set up in the right tone, it will just start to automatically loop. Which is, I thought was pretty cool because I stumbled across that one way back when we didn't have the internet. So, yeah,
And
I love them.
I'm going to say this for somebody, and I've sat there and I've said this plenty of times. I have never played a Final Fantasy game. I have never played a Final Fantasy game. So, Nate is suggesting Expedition 33. I will take everybody's. You guys are telling me what to get. Maybe I will start with that. I just got so much other stuff to sit there and dive into and that kind of thing. So, but if it's going to be the first one that I ever play, I will definitely check out Expedition 33. Definitely. But let me, if I can get my cursor or my mouse working here. So the other thing is, and everybody kills me on this, is Death Stranding misses out on best game of the year. And see, here's another game I have not played the first one, so I am not going to play the second one. So I will, but I do have that on my list this year for trying to platinum. I doubt I'll be even able to get any of this, to any of that, but I will try it. Now, how many of you guys have played the second Death Stranding? David, did you play it yet, or Logic, you play it?
I have it. I have not yet played it.
Logic, go ahead.
Yeah, I started it. I spent maybe 12 hours or so in it, and then just haven't gotten back. I was it was kind of like the same thing like when the first time that I played through Starfield. I got more interested in like infrastructure building than going through the story. So it was just I'd blown a ton of time. It was probably going to continue to do so. So there were some other things that I wanted to get to, but I mean it's a gorgeous game. It has the standard Kojima type of like weird stuff. There are some pretty dramatic drum beats even in the first 12 hours that are shocking, and will kind of rock you from a story perspective. It's a great game. I suspect there are bigger drum beats further in. It's definitely something that
Yeah, there are.
I'll
There's
get
a
back
few.
to.
There's a few little surprises thrown in there near the end.
So, Mr. Retro, you've played both of them and also beat both of them, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, which one did they exceed the first one and made it better in the second?
Well, for me, they did, but this is a bit of a sticking point because you've got kind of two outlooks on it. They made the second game more gamey, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, there was less. I don't know that. I wouldn't even say that there's less. I would say that there's more of what I would call kind of standard game mechanics, content, and activities. And my impression so far is that it's a less lonely game than the first one was. And again, that makes it feel a lot more, like you said, gamey. Like, whereas the first one, and I love the first one, but the first one was very much like
it was a slog. Let's be honest. Let's not kick about the bush. It was a great game with awesome ideas, but it was sluggish.
What I was gonna say is it was very much like if you have on your bucket list to go hike the Appalachian Trail, that's very much what kind of the original Death Stranding was like to me. Like you had to you had to attach yourself to that loneliness and that deliberateness of intent and what was trying to be conveyed to you, and embrace that. And if that was a thing for you, then that was great. But yeah, but I would say there wasn't as much, fighting and pew pew, and even though those things were in there, but the second game presents that a lot more robustly, I would say.
Okay, so Retro, when you sit there and you say more gamey, okay, Logic laid it out for me, so now I'm starting to understand. So it did get better. The way it's coming off, it sounds like it did get better in some ways in that. How long did it take you? Because I think you and we went through this, and they had it down. It was not a really hard platinum, but it was
the platinum was pretty straightforward.
Did it take you over 1,000 hours though?
Nah, I don't even think it took me over 100. If I'm honest, I don't think so. I'd need to go back and look.
Yeah, because somebody was when I was doing the research, somebody had down there it could take you up to 1,000 hours or over 1,000 hours to platinum it, because there was so much stuff going on in the background and everything.
Nah, don't take that. Don't take anywhere near that long.
Okay, here's the other question I got for you. I've only played one Metal Gear game, which was what was it, the fourth one? Is there that much cutscenes in Death Stranding? Because I think it was like 13 hours. And listen,
I mean it's got cutscenes and stuff and expositions and all of that, but it's not. It wouldn't be as anal as what Metal Gear 4, and
yeah, I agree.
It wouldn't be as anal with it. And it is very interesting. It's not. I would call a lot of Metal Gear filler. Like filler episodes in animes and stuff like that, where they're kind of stretching things out that they don't really need to. They're not doing that so much in Death Stranding.
See, the thing is when I sat there and I played Metal Gear 4, and I'm watching the cutscenes, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I love this. I don't know what it is. Because I'm a big movie buff. So, like, I was on Wise's show last night. I showed Lemon. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the movie called Dreamscape. Dennis Quaid is in it, and I can't think of his name, but if you ever saw the movie The Warriors, he's part of the gang that's sitting there and he's taking the ball. He's going Warriors at the end of that. Well, he's in it and he turns into the snake. It's like some kind of a sci-fi thing, but like Wishmaster. But yeah, I enjoyed all those cutscenes because it was like it gave, at least in my opinion, it gave me a little bit of a break of playing, and I really love figuring out what the story is. Am I engaged in this? And I loved it. I thought it was great. So if this is stuff more what he puts in his games, I'll probably love every damn game of his. So, and I look forward to going back and playing a lot of his games and everything. So, I just want to say real quick, everybody that's in the chat, C Fresh, Innate, you and I, and Innate can back me up on a lot of stuff that was being said last night, because Innate was actually in the chat on Wise's show. So was RPG88. He was in there, but Raichi, thank you for all you guys, showing up and everything. So, but we'll get a little bit more into this. Ghost of Yotai. I scrolled down way too far here, but like best animations, Battlefield 6 got a nomination. Death Stranding, Ghost of Yotai, Hades, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, which my son, I think he either wants that or he already got it in that. He's trying to platinum High on Life right now. And yes, I know he's 10 and you might think he should not be playing it, but I let him play it because he doesn't know what the hell's going on with all that speech and everything. But anyway, artistic achievement, Claire Obscura.
Wait till he repeats something at school and you get the phone call.
David, I'm going to sit there and say this. I said something, he repeated it to my wife, and my wife was ready to beat my head in. That's all I'm gonna say right now, because she's staring at me and giving me, so that's as far as I'm gonna go. But no, I'm a very bad parent. I am. I admit I'm horrible. I am horrible. But anyway, audio achievement, Arc Raiders, Claire Obscura, Death Stranding, Dispatch, which that's another game I do want to get into because I heard a lot of good things about that. Ghost of Yotai, Indiana Jones. Best game, Arc Raiders, Blueprints, Claire Obscura, Dispatch, Ghost of Yotai, and Indiana Jones. And this one, I have never seen this. British game.
That's something specific. That's specific to the BAFTAs because obviously it's the British Game Awards essentially. And it's in their academy covers. I think they do movies, television, games, and like one other category. There's like 4 different like BAFTA award shows. But yeah, this is a quirky one that they do. And I think I haven't read the word for word the specific juror process for these. I know it is an academy. It's the Academy of Arts and something or other. But yeah, they specifically honor British game developers because British game development is a little more nationalized is the word I want to use, but there's much more deliberate, intentional incentivization within British regulatory bodies to try and grow the gaming industry. And I think they're in a phase where they're currently backing off of that. And there's a lot of political arguments about that needs to be reinvigorated so that they don't lose the advances that they've made in growing the industry. Canada is the other country that does a ton of incentives and tax breaks and things for game development studios. But yeah, this is one of the reasons. Well, Retro, I mean, you should be able to throw some more.
Sorry, what are we talking about? I was joining the YouTube thing and that and chatting.
No, I was just saying that that Britain has a lot more emphasis on growing the video game industry with tax breaks and incentivization and things like that, and that this is one of the things that I think grows out of that there's a British game category in the BAFTAs.
Well, I mean, it's kind of nice because for a long time we didn't really know when, unless you knew the dev studios, you wouldn't really be able to tell they were British. Stuff like Playground Games and that, they started out as a small British team. They're like Studio Liverpool and stuff like that. So I think there's always been incentives there. I think just more of a spotlight's been put on it. But it's good, man. It's good because we need talent from all over the world, man. Gaming is a very, very big thing these days, and it's from all over. So I think you've got to be able to support, different areas and different. Yeah, you need a good mix. It's just part of game, and I think it's always been there. I think it's just highlighted more these days. Maybe there's more eyes on it. I don't know.
Retro, going off of what you were sitting there saying, I would love that. Listen, it's when you sit there and you look at games, you got to have there's so much with different religions, with different ethnicities and everything, the background, like Zal. There was so much going on, and I'm pretty sure I think that is South African and everything, and just the lore and all that. There is so much story out there that could be put into gaming to keep it really fresh and everything.
I think one of the best upcoming examples of like a British, where you're going to see a lot of British sensibilities and humor, is going to be Fable.
Yes. Because of the humor and all that, the kind of
and you'll notice accents. That's what I love about Fable. They got one thing. you get different accents in different areas. So you might actually hear someone from Yorkshire or someone from the other, the other end, Manchester or Birmingham. I've heard Birmingham people in Fable. So yeah, you've got that, and I mean you've got what, Forza Horizon. That's
Right.
coming out pretty soon too. Although they
And that's
don't
gonna
really.
Japan, right? Or was
Pardon?
that was the DLC for 5 in Japan, or is this going to be taking place in Japan?
No, the new game's Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a new setting. They kind of do that every game. They set it in a different place. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming. But it is interesting to think about how much it's been highlighted, possibly in the last couple of years over what it has been, especially considering the incentives and stuff that Logic were talking about, the tax breaks and stuff. They've been about since like the PS1 days, really.
See,
just to make sure we're precise about it. So you mentioned
was
you
this
mentioned Tales of Kinzera Zhao, who the head of that studio is obviously Abubakar Salim, who is actually British by nationality, but from an ethnicity standpoint is actually Kenyan.
Okay, from Kenya. Okay,
I didn't actually realize he was British. I thought he was from. Yeah.
See, you know what? This is
Damn.
you are. I'm gonna curse for a minute. You are fucking me up here, man, because you are just too good. This is exactly.
But this is why we like you. This is why he's our friend.
He's able to. Okay, bam. He's right there. He's already. It's like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know he was scrolling through everything that I'm scrolling through because I'm so used to. Here, you guys take care of this. You talk. I'll take care of the stuff in the background. But he's doing everything, and it's messing me up, man. It's like I'm not prepared for this. Shit. But it's great. Thank you, Logic. I appreciate it. I do, man.
Yeah, I'm never prepared, so I do appreciate it. Like,
well, I'm supposed to be running a show, and I'm not this prepared. Anyway, so I did want to bring this up. So I'm looking at the multiplayer thing. Where's Battlefield 6? Arc Raiders, Dune for multiplayer, Dune Awakening, Elden Ring, Night Ring, Lego Party, Peak, and Split Fiction, and also I think I said Arc Raiders. Where's Battlefield 6? I know I'm biased on that, so I just
what are you complaining about?
I thought Battlefield 6 would be in for the multiplayer thing. One of the best multiplayer games.
Why?
I don't know. I listen, from Battlefield 2042 to this, it is leaps and bounds. But I'm going to put a big giant but, not an ass, but a but, and sit there and say they got a lot of shit to work on, man. They really got a lot of shit to work on.
So you've seen who the nominations are for that category, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So I imagine that there is a criterion behind it that I just haven't bothered to look up yet, but how they get nominated, but none of those multiplayer first-person shooter games are in there.
Yeah, I was going to say Call of Duty's not in there, Apex, PUBG, Fortnite.
Yeah.
So some of those there is an explanation for. So the eligibility brackets are, it had to be I think October or November of 2024 through November of like 2025. Okay. So anything that was like legacy, right? That's like an ongoing game. That would, the only category those things can go into is in this category called evolving game. It's the one that where you can have games that break that bracket. That's why Fallout 76 is in there. No Man's Sky, etc. I think the multiplayer category is actually just a matter of style in terms of like what this particular jury body values amongst multiplayer. So yeah, like regardless of the eligibility bracket. So I mean, new games would have been eligible. Call of Duty, Black Ops 7 would have been eligible. Battlefield 6, but clearly this jury body doesn't put as much value on those, and I think they put value on multiplayer that is would call it maybe like not like non-traditional in terms of kind of the pew PvP kind of aspect, right? Because you do have Arc Raiders up here, which is an extraction shooter. You have Dune Awakening, which is more of a survival game. You have Elden Ring Night Rain, which is essentially a multiplayer Souls game. Lego Party, which is a Lego game. Peak, which like its enablement for multiplayer, I think, and I haven't played Peak, I think is more of like co-op, but also like some people will refer to Death Stranding 2 as a multiplayer game, right? Because it has a community dynamic to it, because people can leave stuff and you can find their stuff and you can help each other. And you can actually make relationships, right, and contracts with people, so that you can cooperate like throughout the game, even though you're not doing it live. And I feel like I think that's what a little bit of Peak does. And obviously Split Fiction is co-op. So I think this is a matter of, from a design aspect, this artistic body value, stuff like that, more than just straight up aggro, PvP pew pew.
Okay. So I went to the evolving game, like you sat there and said.
Why Gran Turismo 7 never gets mentioned in those categories is beyond belief to me.
Yeah, because that
GT7
that is an evolving
Bro,
game.
every month we get free DLC and new events, and
No, wait a minute, Retro. If, and I'm only going to say if, Bob shows up, Bob sat there and said in the chat last night, because I mentioned Gran Turismo 6 or 7, that Forza basically ate Gran Turismo 7 for lunch and spit it out.
Right.
So,
okay. Well, one's still alive, so
he can go
anyway.
Regardless of that, I think that's an astroturfing kind of statement that's entirely built and stapled to the notion of console wars. More importantly, what I was about to join with Retro in is not just Gran Turismo 7, but I would say racing games in general, which Retro and I feel we are very religious and on a crusade about, is like there's a ton of racing games that should be getting recognized for this type of stuff. The Crew Motorfest should be getting recognized for the DLC, right, for the content. It's
100%.
So
absolutely,
but they never get recognized.
See, you three gentlemen, you like your racers, okay? So I'm not a racing fan, but I will sit there and say this, and thanks to Retro on this one, he pointed out Dirt 5 to me, and I'm like, because I wanted a racing game to platinum in that. I actually enjoyed it. And then I went out and I bought all the DLC, because I got the DLC for like, I think it was $1. There was like some kind of a huge sale or something like that for Dirt 5 back in January. And I hate sitting there and seeing like the percentage, and it was at 60%. And I'm like, but I platinumed the game. But why is it? And it has all this DLC. I'm like, you know what? Maybe if it goes on sale, I'll buy it. I paid $5 for all the DLC. So I'm going to wind up going back. But I will sit there and say, I actually enjoyed playing that. It was fun, because I could sit there and put a radio station on, and it's just like driving somewhere, just listening to radio and just driving around and doing all that kind of stuff. So I will sit there and say, enjoy it. I wanted to point this out with the evolving game. So they have No Man's Sky's Vampire Survivors, but they have, and if everything went the way I was hoping to do, this was back in January, I gave all these guys, hey, what is going to be, your personal awards and everything. And the last game on Evolving Game was going to be my game of the year, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. I can't tell you, that game was incredible. And the multiplayer, I enjoyed the multiplayer. And the one thing that they did, they took all the side quests, and this is, I wish developers would do this a lot more, and they did it a little bit with Battlefield. Give you the choice of, hey, do I want to play co-op? Do I not want to play co-op? Don't make it mandatory that you have to link up, because like I'm seeing in Battlefield, it's starting to get worse and worse and worse. Seriously, they need to get rid of this KD ratio crap, because you can get into lobbies and play against bots, and then your KD ratio just balloons. Get rid of it and just stick with, hey, did you get the objectives, health, all this other stuff. Warhammer took it to where, okay, well, I can go in and I can play these missions. So what I did is I played them alone because there was collectibles to go around. You have these, it's like cassette tapes that were telling you more and more of the story and everything. So you went around, picked them up, and then I sat there, was like, okay, well, now I'll co-op with people to do all these missions and everything. And it's the best game I've had fun with in years because of being able to have that. And then, if you're looking to sit there and say, hey, I want to meet some new people or whatever, you link up with them and you play with them. It was great. Warhammer was my game of the year last year. It was fantastic. So, but I mean, I'm taking up all the time. You guys ain't talking, so they told me to shut the hell up. What do you guys think about with the awards?
Well, I was going to say, evolving game seems to me to be more about DLC than just strictly multiplayer. Just to put another kind of point on the difference in the categories. I will continue the rant that Retro and I started and say, in addition to that, when we talk about simulations in general, like I said, there's an emphasis on this game for DLC, and I don't want to be was a thing. I think I saw a thing by Joey Swole on Twitter today about some guy was saying, "Hey, can we get rid of saying thank you to service people like to the bus driver, because the bus driver's doing his job," and Joey was like, and he was like, I don't say thank you to the waiter for bringing me food. And Joey was like, you can just be a decent human being. Like, it doesn't need.
You don't thank people for providing a service. That's crazy to me.
Right. And so this is
real.
And so my jumping off point of that is in this. I want to be careful to say we're awarding people for dropping DLC, like in a way that's not, to me, not really exceptional, but it's just like, yeah, they dropped DLC. So I want to be careful to say, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to not be grateful for people, but I will again draw attention to, we have games that dropping DLC is the norm. Like, they're evolving games in their nature. American Truck Simulator, European Truck Simulator 2. Somebody brought up one of the Spin Tire series, right? Those games are entirely built around the notion of, I'm going to drop the game and I'm going to build out the world in this survey sim approach and constantly drop new vehicles, new adventures, new scenarios, new environments, new areas. And so it's a shame that, like Retro said, like we don't recognize those games that are doing that, because those are the type of games that people get into them and they will play for like 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, because there's constantly new content, and they kind of build it out as like a Lego block set, of stuff that they're constantly packing in. I mentioned Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm not adding that one into that pack because a lot of that DLC comes from third parties and doesn't come from the studio. But like I said, there's games that's their inherent nature, and we haven't figured out a way to kind of reward those developers or recognize those developers on an annual basis. But we recognize, again, I'm not trying to take a thing away from them, but we recognize people who drop DLC as if it's something like exceptional.
Does anybody else have anything to say about that or more with the BAFTA awards? David, I'm giving you a thumbs up with Space Marines. No. Yes. If you want somebody to play with, just call me. I'll jump in with you.
Will do. I think the BAFTAs, the only thing I would add here is with the BAFTAs, the way that they select and the way that they approve or they approach the criteria and how they get to an outcome is probably the most expansive of all the major awards. They've got a voting panel of over 1,700. They shortlist via at least 2 rounds of shortlisting before they get to the final ones that get published to say here's the top 6 that are going to get voted on. And it's made up by a good cross section within the industries so they know what they're talking about. It's not just media based and it's not just peer based. It is broad based. So I've always found them as a good yardstick, or benchmarking, or however you want to call it, to be as accurate as to what you can get in terms of some kind of, I don't know, averaged outcome. It's not average as in it's, mid pack, but average as in, because it's such a broad selection pool, those that are the common favored ones will come out just based on sheer weight of numbers. And because I'm a numbers fanatic, this is the one that really intrigues me the most. But I think it's good the way that they section out certain things. And as you said at the start, there's a British gaming section which is important. So I appreciate when those sort of categories arise, that you want to try and promote homegrown talent as much as you can. Which I think, given that the amount of subsidies and tax breaks and financial assistance and everything else that they get from within their own governments and from their own region, it's probably not a bad thing to have in there.
Retro, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, ultimately, I don't care about awards. Really, I'm glad that the developers get the spotlight and that they get recognized. But it's very much for them. Other than a bit of confirmation bias and stuff, it doesn't really give me a great deal. Yeah, so it's great that it happens, and I hope it gets bigger and bigger. But for me personally, it doesn't do anything for me.
I got you.
I think it's great, but it's great for more. It's more about the developers themselves rather than me. Because they've already got my vote of confidence. If I bought their game, they've already got my vote of confidence, and they'll see that in the numbers, and they'll see that in my playtime. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's great. It's great to see it get bigger and bigger and get more and more coverage.
Yeah, you definitely want that. With the indies and the
especially the indies, man, because it's been such
that recognition.
They've been under the table for so long. It's great that they're getting a platform to actually showcase what they're doing, because some of the indie stuff is ridiculous, man. It's so inventive.
I was going to sit there and say that they like pushing the boundaries. It's like, hey, you know what? I got nothing to lose here. Let me sit there and put everything I got into this and see where it goes. And there's a lot of innovative things coming out of indies. I mean, I sat there and said on Waj's show last night, I got close to 1,000 games. I'm going to say over half of them are indie games, because it's just new stories, new concepts, new things bringing in. There are some things where it's like, hey, you know what? Oh my God, I can't think of the name, but they mix in some of the AAA stuff into what they got going on, and it freshens it up a little bit. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next topic here. So the PS6 may not trail Xbox Project HELIX by much, as Xbox's performance advantage may not be all that meaningful, tech experts say. And man, Logic is just...
And the cycle starts again. I'm not doing it. I'm not interested in specs.
Okay.
But show me the games. Show me the game. We heard this whole spec thing, the whole run up to this last gen, and it ended up being a big wet fart. So I'm not doing it. I'm not. Use work away. That's my view. My view is I'm waiting to see the games, and if the games look good, I buy the console. I don't care what powers it. I just don't care. This power difference bullshit, man. Nah, I'm not doing it.
Listen, I'm going to sit here and say this, okay? I told you guys in the chat that we are in, I've basically distanced myself with Twitter.
Oh no, I'm not saying don't discuss it. I'm just saying I'm not entertaining it. We done this, you know what I mean? We done this whole...
Here's the thing. I didn't even know what the hell this thing was until I got back onto Twitter this week. This Project Helix. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Because like I told you guys in the chat, I literally jumped back on to Twitter on Monday. Maybe 5 minutes a week. 5 minutes. If you guys have the Apple stuff, or maybe Android does it, like Apple does, hey, Sunday, this is how much time you spent on your phone, and here's all the apps that you got. Most of the time, it was Twitter was 70%, and then YouTube was all the way up there. It's like my phone since January has been asking, why aren't you on Twitter anymore? Because it's like all the way down to 7 or 8%, because it's like I don't want to be on it. But I went on it because the NFL free agency thing was going on, so I wanted to see what what was going on and everything. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the hell is this Project Helix thing? And then I started hearing Wise's stuff and whatever, and I'm like, okay, this is the new Xbox. And then Wise was, or what was it? It was Lemon and KY. They were talking about last night. So why don't you guys, minus Retro, so David and Logic, you guys will have the floor. Explain this whole thing to me, because what the hell is it going on? And here's the one question that I'm going to put out there, because I did see this in a tweet. Apparently, this box is going to have thousands upon thousands of more games than the PS6 will have, and the backwards compatibility. So here's the question I got for both of you. And please explain it to me, because I'm a dummy when it comes to this stuff. If there's not going to be a disk drive, how am I supposed to play my Xbox 360, my Xbox One, and my Xbox Series X games if there's no disk drive? Does this mean I have to re-buy them again when I already bought them? You guys have the floor. Take it away.
I mean, I'm not going to explain that because I don't know either. And if it doesn't come with a disk drive, then like questions like, well, is GameStop going to sell this box because this doesn't do anything for GameStop? So like, there's lots of questions like that I feel are out there, that I can't explain either. And then of course, I think what happens when you ask a question like that, there's one of two things: either people tell you what their assumption is, or they assert that, well, because this thing got said, you should be able to draw an inference and believe, and then you're just supposed to believe your inference. And then there's people who say it doesn't matter. I think the people who say it doesn't matter, or you should be able to draw these inferences, I think a key misunderstanding they have is that those questions are coming from the general market. They're not coming from the 9 million people who are going to buy this because they're dedicated to Xbox, and they're going to buy it anyway, regardless. There are people who are trying to figure out, where does this fit within their gaming ecosystem? Does it fit within their gaming ecosystem? And so they have questions. There's lots of questions that I have that cannot be answered. And I'm not interested in, quite frankly, I'm not interested in the opinions of people who aren't engineers, are software developers, who aren't systems architects, who think that they know what it's going to be. I will make my decision when all of the information is available, when the dev kits, when the dev kits, whatever the dev kits are, because that's an outstanding question, right? When developers actually start building games for this and have target hardware to deploy it to, and can start speaking more robustly about the features and capabilities and limitations of this, then it'll be time to make a decision. I think from a market perspective, like where it's headed and where like the capabilities we've heard of, there's definitely absolutely a market for this thing, for Helix. I think the thing that's going to be interesting to watch is, again, I think a thing that a lot of people are either not thinking about or misjudging is, you're going to have a converging set of vectors of where customers are coming to this box from. You're going to have so like table one, you're going to get a huge offboarding of current people who are currently on Series X's and Series S's who are not going to go to this box because this box is going to be presented to them as an affordable option. So there's a part of it that, you know, we'll say, thank you, I got to go figure out something else to do. So then you're going to have new people coming in. You're going to have customer acquisition, and you're going to have some of them who are going to come from the console side, who are going to fleet up and say, I've been on consoles, or I thought I was interested in console, but this thing has more features and capabilities. I'm interested in this, and they're gonna come on board from the console side. So they will have a set of expectations. It is likely that their set of expectations will be exceeded from what they've had before. You'll get a box that's more capable and provides additional access to content and new experiences that those people haven't been exposed to before. You're going to get some people coming at it from the PC side. And the people coming at it from the PC side will have a high set of expectations because of what they already know PCs are capable of. Now, you will get an intermixed PC demographic making that approach. You will get a bunch of people who are currently part of the PC potato nation. And while they have high expectations and understandings, they also accept mid to low grade delivery, right? Because these are the type of people who build a PC and then stay on that PC for 7 or 8 years. They're on entry level GPUs. They play at 1080p, right? 60 frames per second. So what they're going to look at this box for is they're going to look at this box because, hey, buying this box is cheaper than me, you know, building my ancient PC or doing a big upgrade where I've got to overhaul like the deepest root of components because like my power supply isn't even enough to keep up with entry level GPUs on the market now. Right, or my power supply doesn't even have the rails, right, that new modern PC power supplies do. It's not modular. It doesn't have the connectors, blah, 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 blah. Then you're going to have some people who are high-end PC people who maybe they want to buy this as a secondary box. Maybe they want to buy this for the reason that, you know, I might look at this, which is that, you know, I have 5 PCs in here now, but I often buy things that prevent, I refer to them often, you know, each of them as the beast of 12 fans. So having equipment that allows me to come in and game without having to light off a beast of 12 fans, like, is the thing that I'm often interested in. So, you know, it reduces the total number of operating hours that you put on a PC and runtime. It makes it last longer. It offloads those operating cycles. But my expectations are high, right? So if you do things like this notionally brings some PC capability into it, but like here's a great example. It notionally brings some PC capability into it, but because either it's a crimped Windows 11, it doesn't provide compatibility with all of the things that I would want to bring, like all my peripherals, for instance, or it doesn't. It's supposedly a PC, and so it allows access to PC games, but it doesn't allow access to all the functionality of a PC. So it doesn't allow me to run OBS and Audacity and load Creative Labs, right? It's a gaming machine that brings PC capability, but at $1,000, it doesn't provide the wide array of the, you know, the general purpose multifunction desktop personal computer. So then that alters my perception on its value prop, right? So how that whole swirl, right, of competing requirements, and I wrote something about this earlier this week, how the gaming market is becoming this niche of niches. And you don't so much have like large swaths of like 150 million people who all want the same thing anymore. Right, you have these smaller niches of like 15 million people who want a thing, and then 10 million people over here who want a thing, and then 9 million people over there who want a thing. How those niche of niches kind of correlate around this thing is going to be interesting, and determining who's going to rally around that is difficult when we don't know all of the information. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see the info that comes out. Sorry,
David. Before you go, I was told, I think last night, almost guaranteed that this thing's going to be consistently sold out and sell around maybe 20 million. So I'm afraid if I don't put my pre-order in now, I might lose it.
There's no way.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I wanted to see you smile a little bit more.
I'll also add right before David goes, I am pretty certain that internal projections at Microsoft for how many this thing will sell are also not anywhere near that number.
See, and if you guys think I'm bullshitting, look at Nate's response because he was there. Just look at it in the chat because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
My lord. So,
See? Told
oh,
you.
jeez.
Go ahead, David. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Well, for the first of all, the link to the as people can see it on the screen, if that's a total article according to today's reporting standards, which is 50% citing other sources and just putting some gap filling, no information words in between it, then I really do fear for journalism. That is an abomination of a report from any kind of journalistic perspective, and I don't care who wrote it. That is horrible. Is the gap going to be all that big? Well, the gap was supposed to be sizable for this generation, and it turned out to be blur because there was nothing there to showcase the Xbox side of things when it got going. And there still hasn't been anything to showcase the Xbox side of things from any kind of perspective that dramatically outperforms the PlayStation. And to be sitting here, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rave here, all right? To be sitting here a couple of weeks out from PSSR 2.0 starting to roll out on a PlayStation 5 Pro, for Xbox to be talking about their next, whatever this thing is, this hybrid PC arrangement, and they spoke about it at GDC from a development perspective and still had more questions than answers come out of the back end of that from the developers who are supposedly building the games on this thing, with a key focus around PC streamlining for build it once, play it everywhere. So obviously they're designing this thing to try and focus people to build it within the Windows ecosystem. But why would that make any difference if you've got two totally different approaches to getting an outcome for the software? Sony and AMD are the ones that are building the tech that's going to be in this thing anyway. And Xbox is then piggybacking off the back end of that via professional partnership, saying, well, we're partnering with AMD to get the best of their technology and to be able to then put it in our next hardware piece. There's still no clarification as to where the hardware is being built. Microsoft Gaming doesn't have an internal hardware development team. They haven't staffed up for it. They're still relying on the Surface Pro team to do a lot of their hard work. And the Surface Pro team hasn't exactly been shooting the lights out with their offerings more recently. So it's very likely this is going to be built by a third party. So then we're into the questions of, well, who's going to build it? How are they going to build it? How is AMD fitting into all this through their partnerships? And what makes Microsoft or whoever's championing this stuff at WCCF Tech and all the rest of them, what makes them think that they're going to be so far in front of the Sony option when Sony's basically building this thing with AMD? And then to come back and say, oh, the paper specs are going to blow this thing, is going to be, this much bigger and this much better. It doesn't translate into end results if you got nothing to show it. And some of the technical points that they've referenced in this article, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. You just think about the type of monitor or television you would have to upgrade to be able to see that difference. We're not talking about a couple of $100. If it's, saying it can do what, 60 FPS while the PS6 can handle 30 FPS, or running path tracing in game with the PS6 can only handle ray tracing. PS5 Pro can already bridge that gap through its through its AI learning tool. So it's a non-event. And we don't even know what's in the what the end result of what they're going to carry over into the PS6 is. So I'm sort of sitting here with Retro on the same perspective of, until they've got them out in the wild and we can get hands-on with these things and actually see some kind of difference, market difference, not just a couple of frames here and a couple of frames there, and this one's lighting looks slightly dimmer and this one's lighting looks slightly brighter. Unless you can actually see it and witness it and be involved in it, anything that's written on a sheet of paper is speculating what the outcome is going to look like, because it didn't make any difference at all in this generation, and it made 4/5 of no difference in the last generation. It's just, again, hyping up numbers by percentages. It's just, I don't see any sense in why they're talking about it now, because they've still got time to change things, and we don't know where the AI impacts are going to land, because they're still working through those.
Well, I know. So looking at the article on that, I'm not like seeing any kind of a price, but I remember last night, let me see here, it going down in that. I think, I'm not too sure who said it on Wise's show, but I think it was around $1,000. It was going to cost around 1,000. I'm not seeing it in the article right here. So, Logic, I don't know if you saw it. In that. Steve's here. Logic, sorry. Go ahead.
So that's a projection. A lot of people have based that on just whimsical guesses. Moore's Law is Dead has done that based on like a buildup of the bomb and a thought on what profit margin needs to be. Just in terms of capabilities of where the market is now, that seems like a reasonable price point. I think before everybody else comments, the one thing I'll leave off with is, in addition to like this article, but I've also been very vehement about mentioning this of the people who are trying to make this a thing. There's a lot of people who are trying to make a thing about the Steam machine competing with the PlayStation, and I say over and over and over again, that's a lot of insecurity, and I will say insecurity coming from PlayStation fans, because the Steam machine is not being positioned to compete against the PlayStation.
It'll also be very underpowered.
The capability that it brings and the audience that it's targeting, right, in terms of its addressable market, is just like entirely different. Yeah, there's going to be some discussion of battle for customer acquisition for new gamers coming into the market, but that is almost more of an evolutionary shaping of where the gaming market is going than a matter of head-to-head competition, right? And those numbers are small, because even though I always say we constantly have these conversations about like, oh well, if you do exclusives, you're not going to get anybody to change. Well, no shit. Like, customer retention and customer defections aren't the only competitive slice of the market. We have to think about new customer acquisition too. But I think that playing field is going to be different to the point of it's not the same. I firmly think the competitive categories are really going to be PlayStation 6 against Nintendo Switch 2. That battle is kind of also already settled, because PlayStation has taken high, Nintendo has taken low, and they've pretty much just split the market very much in the same way that Nvidia and AMD did 20 years ago, right, when we went down to only 2 real GPU manufacturers in the market. You're going to have PC, right, on the high end, on the super high end, and when people go upstream PC, because I also get into this argument, PlayStation fans who think that PC gamers are trying to build something that competes. No, once you decide to move upstream and you cross the other side of the railroad tracks and you go into the PC space, you are no longer looking at the PlayStation 5 Pro over your shoulder. You are focused on building the best PC you can within whatever you set as your budgetary like meatball for that, and then you're considering upgrading. You're not looking over your shoulder at consoles. This new category is this category that I'm calling micro PC, which is a category that we used to have before. I apologize for the people who have heard me go off on this tirade. Atari Amiga, Coleco Atom, TI-99, Commodore 64, VIC-20. These were things that were modular PCs, but they were less expensive than something like a Tandy Wright 1000. and they came in this slice where they were above the consoles but below PCs. And then we kind of had a resurgence of this category. From a price perspective, we had a resurgence of this category in the 90s, right? When we brought in 3DO and the Philips CDI and TurboGrafx, these things that were like significantly more expensive than a Nintendo or a PlayStation or a Sega, than a Saturn or a Dreamcast, but we're below the price of a PC. We're reinvigorating that category, and the head-to-head competition is going to be Project Helix versus Steam Machine, because those are going to be the things that are going to be in price ranges of each other, where there's more of a straight up fight. And in terms of capabilities and the content that they have access to, that will be the thing that is much more similar than it is to just straight stick PC versus console. So I don't know. That's my perspective.
Bob or Steve, no worries today. You don't have to worry about anybody interrupting you or anything like that. You are free to talk. You are on, I think you're muted.
I'm used to it. Or have you seen the shows that I'm on normally? I get interrupted all the time.
You have free reign to. Okay, so the topic is PS6 may not trail Xbox Project Helix by much, as Xbox's performance advantage may not be all that meaningful, tech experts are saying. So off of that, how and what you were talking about last night on Wise's show and that, why don't you get into with the PS6, the Project Helix, things that you've heard and that kind of thing? Is it going to be more powerful? The specs, do the specs interest you? Is that a big thing for you? Or because I know you play on PC, you have a really beefy rig. I mean, does it really matter that are you going to buy the Helix or just stick with the PC?
Well, for starters, what I have is a Ryzen 9 with a 4080 Super and 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RAM. I play all my games on PC, 4K, 120 frames, everything like, pumped to the max. Sometimes I got to turn some things down because some games ray tracing is on by default, and I just hate that. Because it's a resource hog, especially when it comes to CPU draws, because the ray tracing is handled by the GPU, but the draws are sent to it from the CPU. So if you've got a CPU that's already doing a lot of world simulations, and those draws come through for the ray tracing, we all know that there is no game that is that's been made to use all the cores on your CPU. They always hit 2 or 3 of the main cores, and that's what you're left with. And when those draws come in, it's a cluster F. I get large frame time spikes in certain games, and it's not my hardware. It's just because the game won't let you do anything about the ray tracing. You have to use it. I, for one, with now knowing the type of rig that I have, I like to do a lot of game streaming. And I went with the 4080 Super because the 4070s, the 4080s, and the 4090s, and the 5070s, 5080s, and 5090s, they have dual NVEC encoders. So it helps you a whole lot when you're trying to screen capture and send it to OBS and have OBS encode it. And then if something's at a different resolution, then it's got to be decoded and re-encoded, and having the dual NVEC encoders that can do encoding and decoding at exactly the same time. That really helps. But NVEC needs at least 30 to 40% of your GPU's headroom open to operate correctly. Otherwise, you get an encoder overloaded error in OBS, and you start dropping a lot of frames. So I'll be playing a game, and I'll be wanting to stream it. And if I'm taking a capture from one of my consoles with my capture card, if I take a capture from one of my consoles and put that into OBS, that's just fine, because I'm capturing at the same resolution and the frame rates that I'm uploading with OBS. When I try to play a game on my PC, which is really what I want to show people, because there's a lot of games on PC that console players have never even heard of, I have to knock my settings down so far to get a stable stream that, looking at it, you're like, well, my console looks better than this. It's not a true representation. And I will be buying a Project Helix, and it will be my primary gaming machine because the stats on paper, Helix is going to run games better than my rig that I have. Because if you go to Tech Power Up, the 4080 Super comes in at about 52 teraflops of Ada Lovelace architecture. And of course, DLSS is the winner. But FSR is no slouch anymore. FSR has matured. FSR is on par now with DLSS. And the lowest, if you take just because with NVIDIA hardware, you calculate the brute force of the card by taking your CUDA cores with your core clock and plug them into the little calculator on the website. With AMD cards, they don't go by their CUDA cores; they go by their compute units. It's just different architecture. You know, your clock speed and your compute units. And the lowest estimation that I've seen for Project Helix, the lowest minimum I've seen is 60 teraflops of RDNA 5 running the latest version of FSR. To me, that tells me as a tech head that this box is going to run games better than my PC runs them now. And having a dual PC setup would be very beneficial because then I can take a feed from the Helix and run it through my PC, run it through my capture card, and then port that into OBS. And now I've taken my PC having to brute force the game and do the encoding and decoding. It can just focus on the encoding and decoding, and I can get a clean stream with perfect quality, and it would be a true dual PC setup. Now, I thought about building another PC as just a streaming box, but if I can get Project Helix, it's going to be about the same cost as what a streaming PC that I was going to build would cost me. And this way I get another piece of plastic off of my desk. I can put Helix over there behind the PC. I don't even have to look at it. It's over there. The Series X, which the Helix will play all of its games and everything that's already in the back compat catalog and all that. I can hand my Series X down to one of my kids. They don't play them though. My kids got the 1Xs and the PS4s, and you know what they do? They're on their phones and they're on their PCs that I built them. That's this new generation. We're a dying breed, guys. This new generation, they're not console gamers. They get on their PCs and they get on their phones and they play Roblox.
How much are you seeing that the Project Helix is going to wind up costing? Because what you're putting out there to me, and like I was telling these gentlemen, I bought one a couple years ago with everything, and that was the monitor that was curved and all that. I paid, I think it was like $3,100. So what are you looking at? How much is this going to cost? Because the way you're explaining it to me, I mean, is this going to be around $1,500 to $1,700 or more, or is this going to be less? Because there was something on there that somebody was saying the PS6, I guess, could run around maybe $650 to $700, which I don't see that, and then this running around $1,000. In your opinion, what are you looking at as the Project Helix costing?
I look for build price that, out the door, what Microsoft has to deal with as far as production, and minus any kind, because they're going to want to make, I mean, come on guys, we're in a world now where they don't sell consoles for a loss, and we're 6 years in this generation, and I could sell my PS5 and my Series X. I could sell them and make a profit on both of them just because of the prices. So nobody's going to sell anything for cost. Nobody's going to subsidize anything from here on out. Even the Steam machine, which Valve is notorious for subsidizing hardware and having their service and their software pick it up on the back end. That's not going to happen now. So Xbox, I believe, out the door hardware costs $8.99 because you can't equate it from PC to console, because in a console you've got your CPU and your GPU. It's all on one die. It's being manufactured at TSMC. That's one piece of silicon with chiplets on it. That's not an individual boxed CPU that everybody's got to get their hand in, taxes, shipping, everything, and not an individual GPU. We're not talking about marketing individual RAM sticks, motherboard, none of that. Cooling, what's the word I'm looking for? The cooling solution. This is a box that's going to come. It's going to have probably, if you look at Series X as a good example, it's got 3 different boards in it. And they're just kind of sandwiched with components and transfers from one board to the other by wire between them. The RAM is going to be bought in bulk, just the chips. It's going to be soldered to the board. The APU, the SoC, the system on chip, it's going to come from TSMC, already ready to go. They're going to solder that on the board. They're going to put the cooling solution in there. They're going to get, not going to get like a really big name brand power supply. It's going to be something that is dependable, and it's going to do the minimum of what's needed. 350 watts, I think, is what we're hearing. This console is going to be the total DDP. So, yeah, and I think Microsoft is going to want to make a profit like everybody else is making a profit. They make $200 now on a Series X, which I think is freaking ridiculous. This console should be $350 right now, tops. They're going to want to make $100 profit. That puts it right at $1,000. And some people, they compare the series, the Project Helix possible pricing. They compare that to the handheld that was made not by them. It was made by Asus. Now, I used to work for Asus. I was in their RMA department for the first 2 years out of college, and they don't give anybody a break. I had to cancel RMAs all the time when it clearly was a defect. I had to write it up as user abuse. So all these companies are nasty, and they partnership with Xbox. I think as far as that went is, we're going to give you the shell OS that this is going to run, which we've come to call the Xbox full screen experience, which is going to be, or the Windows full screen experience. It's going to be called Xbox mode now and next month. But yeah. And I think Colt Eastwood asked me today what I thought the price gap was going to be between PS6 and Project Helix. I believe the price gap between those two consoles is going to be $250. And I think Microsoft may be shortchanging themselves a little bit, because I know there were 2 people in the chat last night during Wise's show, Cerebral Paul and myself. Just off the top of my head, I plan on getting the Project Helix to be my primary gaming machine for Xbox and my PC games, and using the brute force of my actual PC that I built myself as just my streamer. I'm going to use it to search the web, do research, watch videos, and stream with OBS. All my games are going to be going through my Helix, because it's going to cost me pretty much the same price as it was going to cost me to build just a PC to do streaming, because I would have gotten a 5060 to do that, because it's got the newest NVEC generation in it. And it's the cheapest one you can get that has the newest NVEC generation in it.
I'm going to shoot to the other topic. Before I go to the other topic, what I want to do is ask Logic and David. So he, in opinion, $8.99 for this doesn't sound too bad, and we'll just take it to PS6 $250, so that's 900, so you're looking at $750. I mean, what in your opinion, and Retro, I want you to chime in on this too. What is your opinions on how much this might wind up costing? Because David sat there and said something. Keep in mind, if somebody else is building this, the possibility in that might cost more. In your opinion, what do you think it's going to be?
No idea.
No idea.
No. Well, they're not subsidizing it, so it's not going to be cheap.
What would you
Or at
pay?
least that's the rumor. I mean, the rumor is they're not subsidizing it this go, so it's not going to be cheap.
Okay, but how much are you willing to spend on it though?
I'm not. It holds no value for me. I'm not a PC gamer, so that side of it is no good for me. And I moved away from the Xbox console ecosystem last generation, so there's nothing to attract me to it. Like, originally, I bought Xbox because of its exclusives. They're doing away with that now, so I don't need an Xbox. That's just me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to
Your opinion.
project that into anybody else. That is just my use case. Is that it holds no value to me. But going off the rumors and stuff, it's going to be a powerful bit of kit, man. So I don't expect it to be cheap. But again, if it's worth, if what you're getting out of it is worth it to you, then who the fuck cares?
Right, I totally agree with that. Yeah, totally agree. Logic. What your thoughts
On which piece, do?
on it being around $8.99 for the console and that? Do you think it's going to be more? Do you think that's a good price point for for it coming in and that? And Nate was sitting there saying if it's $8.99, it might not have it might not be as beefy as what everybody's expecting. I mean, what is your thoughts on it?
I think it's going to be more. I think how much more it's like is less consequential, right? Because I think the way most consumers think is it's not so much the dollar for dollar or pound for pound price differential, right? It's thresholds. And so you have people who have been conditioned to think about what a console is and associate that with a price bracket. And yes, that's raising a little bit, but it's still within a certain meatball, right? And then there's a price differential at which point they go, oh no, that's something different. Like if you're telling me this is a console, why is it so like why is it broken this threshold of how much it costs? So I don't think it's a matter of, again, it's going to be in a different competitive price category. Which again, like, I mean, take a look at the MacBook Neo now, right? And MacBooks in general. MacBooks have historically been this thing that most average people think is out of their reach, that it's a thing for the rich. And that's because the MacBook Pro comes in at, starting at $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. Then they introduced the MacBook Air, which is $1,000. That made a difference in perception of the way people perceive the market. Now you have the MacBook Neo at $599, and that's radically changing how people perceive things, particularly when your average Windows laptop at that cost is not a particularly high quality piece of gear. So I think people are going to see these things right in two different buckets from that perspective. And that's why I say I expect the competition to come down much more so to Helix versus Steam Machine, PlayStation versus Nintendo, PlayStation versus Switch 2, right? And then PCs will continue racing off into the sunset in the direction that they go.
I got you. Okay. David, what, in your opinion, what do you think it's going to cost? Because you're throwing out a lot of ideas in the chat that I'm reading.
It's going to be difficult to nail down. My perspective at the moment is it will depend dramatically on the market and what people are prepared to stump up. They can't afford to have a slow uptake. PlayStation's model relies on the console a lot more in line with what Nintendo's does. But they're different business models. They have worked. Sony has invested in manufacturing in country, so it gives them some benefit there. They're carving out a lot of the transitional costs for the bill of materials, so it can be done a bit cheaper in the cost side. They get the R&D tax incentive, which is, if they apply that directly to their consoles, they can subsidize that to a degree. But this isn't this like they did that with the 5, and that's how they were able to keep it at a lower point than what people were expecting at that point in time. Because remember, the PS5 and the Series X, at one stage they were talking about them being same deal as this, $700, $800, $900 for the tech that was in them. I think what'll drive the pricing point a lot is the cooling requirements, and whether they solve that issue and they don't have to put a huge amount of cooling in them like they did these last ones. And that'll be the same for Project Helix, however they work out the throttling to be able to get the cooling done there. But I don't think the market's going to accept. I don't think the market's going to accept anything more than $699, $750 as a starting point for something that needs to dramatically perform better than a PS5 Pro. I don't think they're going to accept that at all. And at that point, the comparative would be those looking to upgrade probably won't, and those that they're looking to bring onto console probably won't. So you've got to come backwards from that quite significantly to make it attractive. I don't think they will be able to go much beyond $549 as a starting point, and the question becomes, how do they make that work? And that's in US dollars. So the only real way that they can make it a profitable point and launch at that is what they've been trying to do, which is bring a lot of the chip manufacturing and the production, say, in-house to a large degree, but via partnerships so that they don't have the markups at the handover points. And that's why I raised the question earlier about it, or the comment earlier about it depends on who's building the Helix as to whether there's a markups that get applied through the partnership arrangements or not, because depending on how they do it, it may actually add $100, $150 to the cost of making them. But it there's smart ways of dealing with it, and they just need the right people doing the procurement work to make it work for them. But I don't know. I genuinely don't see how the market's going to accept I'd say the 550 to 600 is the range that they will start looking at, and they might have to go a little bit cheaper depending on economic factors. However, they'd have to have it markedly, and I mean like a sizably noticeable difference to whatever the PS5 Pro finishes at when they launch the 6, if they want to be somewhere around $699 to $749. And that's the point that'll make a big difference, because they will want people to shift.
David, I'm going to sit there and say this, and I'd be willing to pay this, okay? Because I thought about this. I'd be willing to pay $850 for it if it did this. You took every generation that PlayStation has, and I know this is never going to happen. I know for a fact it's never going to happen. But you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you could sit there and play every single thing that they've ever put out natively and all that. I'd be willing to pay $850. It's $850 is, I mean, it's worth it for that. But I know it's never going to happen.
Sorry, dude, for the PlayStation 6?
Yeah, it's never going to happen. But I mean, the Hip Hop Gamer put something out years ago. It's like, hey, PS5 is going to do this and do this and do this. And yeah, it's playing PS1, 2, and 3 games, but you have to stream it. It's not native or anything like that. So, I mean, but yeah, like I said.
If I may add to what you said.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of with the PS6, like you said, it's never going to happen. There had such drastic differences in hardware from gen to gen. The PS4 and the PS5 are the closest two gens hardware wise had ever been to one another. There's a lot of speculation, and I don't really have a solid answer for you on the Xbox having an NP, and this is no slouch NPU either. The NPU that is on paper of being in Project Helix is going to have up to 110 tops. For those that don't know what tops means, that's 1 trillion operations per second. That's a pretty good NPU. Why are you putting that in a console if you're not going to do real world hardware emulation to make the programs think they're seeing something that's not there? That's just speculation. But why would you put a beefy NPU in a console like that if it was just going to be for upres? Because the GPUs do that now without NPUs.
Okay, so
I assume is it a dual chip design? Is that an actual thing, or was that still just a rumor?
Yes, it's a chiplet design.
So
it's going to
is it not something similar to what the just a really smarter version of what Sony did with the PS3? Is that how they're going to emulate or play the older Xbox stuff? Are they going to treat one of those little? Are they going to treat? Basically, my question is there a way that they could use one of those chips to make the system think it's a Series X and then play all the backwards compatible stuff that way? Is that something they could do?
I mean, it depends on what the NPU's primary purpose is.
Right. Okay. Because that's just my assumption was it was just a really smarter and more updated version of what the PS3 basically did, which was throw a PS2 in there.
Because the PS6 die is going to be a monolithic 280 millimeter square.
Oh, sorry, no, I was talking about the Xbox more than the PlayStation.
I'm getting to that. So the PlayStation is going to be a monolithic die, which is normal. That's what we're used to. AMD, in their PC space, they use chiplets. So when you get a 16-core processor, you're actually getting 2 8-core chiplets on that die.
Okay.
They're going to be using this with the Xbox Project Helix. It's going to be 2 chiplets on the die. The SoC will be 144 millimeters, and the GPU die on there will be 264. But they're going to be chiplets on the silicon. So the NPU is going to be there for whatever they want to use it for. But if the GPU is already doing upres and scaling, then what are you using the NPU for if it's not for some type of black magic to emulate hardware that's not actually there?
Yeah. Well, that was my assumption, was that it was going to be that was going to be roughly how it was being done. It's interesting, man. It's so interesting, and I wonder if at some point Sony could piggyback off that to get the PS3 stuff to run. Because I know even at the moment that the emulators and stuff on PC still struggle with a lot of the code. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be possible as we get these systems with more power. Is it eventually going to be possible? You know.
Well, so one thing I would throw out for everyone to consider is so for Project Helix, and this is just my perspective, right? Whatever the implementation is, and I don't know whether you put 3 strippers in the box and they manually recreate like backwards compatible games for you. I don't think it matters. I think we all agree and understand, and everyone who's engaged in the gaming conversation understands, Project Helix will provide ubiquitous backwards compatibility, right, for all past Xbox titles, because that's essentially what they provide now. So I don't think there's going to be a retreat from that capability, right? PlayStation 6 probably won't, but what I will say is what the market has indicated and said is that there's a huge part of the market that doesn't care that the PlayStation 5 doesn't play PlayStation 3 games. And that's why they bought a PlayStation 5, despite that being a known fact. What I will also say is, as people have built up their digital libraries, and we skate forward into the future, what should become a preponderance of need and demand is whether or not people can get access to all of their digital back catalog. and their access to their physical back catalog will become less of a concern. So people who have been on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and have built up that catalog, as long as the PlayStation 6 provides access to those elements in their digital catalog, that seems what would be the preponderance of requirement that those people would be looking to be fulfilled. So my point is that as we move into the next phase, I don't see that demand signal changing in terms of people who put priority on backwards compatibility. Rachie mentioned something in the chat. You'll have quick resume on the Project Helix, and you can take it in. Like, again, I don't personally use quick resume. I don't play 5 games at one time and have a need to put 4 into zombie mode for me to come back to them. I play a game, I get to a save point, I save a game, I walk away, I shut the box down. And the market has shown that despite quick resume, play anywhere, smart buy, all of the direct storage, all of these things, we have the market share that we have now. So I don't know that those things are market priorities for the way we have the market distributed now. And therefore, I don't know that PlayStation is ever going to do something about getting access to some of those backwards compatible things on physical media, and implement them in a box at cost, forcing them to raise the price of what that thing is going to be.
I don't think they're ever going to do that, but
they'll do it digitally. One day those PS3 games will come back, man. I'm just interested in if it's possible, but I don't think it'll ever be physical. I think it'll be strictly digital. I don't think it'd ever be physical again. I don't think so.
Fellas, I have to drop out. If you guys want to continue on with that, Logic, if you wanted to do something separate with your segment 4 in maybe a couple weeks, I'd love to do that, where it's just that we just maybe spend an hour on segment 4 of that.
Yeah, so, we could definitely recycle that topic. I mean, we certainly didn't need to get through everything that was on the rundown today, and we've been going for 2 hours. So, I mean, it's your show, so I don't personally think we need to go longer.
I got to roll out here because we got the movie, so I got to get a shower and everything. But I mean, do you guys want to leave it off here? I mean, you guys all right with that?
Yeah,
did we cover the topics? We covered the topics, then we're all good.
Everything except for topic of the month. The general topic of the month is PC gamers favor budget games while consoles drive premium sales. Did you want to get into that?
Yeah, we don't have to. I put enough stuff in the rundown to feel comfortable that we could fill 2 hours. We filled 2 hours, so.
I got you. All right. Well, then we'll get out of here with this. So, Steve, great having you come on here and, chat with us and that stuff. Just like I told you last night, no worries. We're all chill here.
I'm still trying to figure out what you were talking about.
We can come back to that. We'll get you actually back in that kind of thing. But this isn't the Animal House that Wise runs. This is very, nice. Everybody can talk and be able to listen to what everybody has to say. It's nice. But why don't you let everybody know where you can be found? YouTube, Wise is on basically everything. So let everybody know where they can find you.
It's Steady Steve-O on everything now. It used to be KY Bob, but Bob was never even my name. So friends call me Steve-O. So I figured why not use Steve-O? You can find me Steady Steve-O, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Twitter. I run the Game Set Live YouTube channel. We do a Game Set Live podcast every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we, for the last month, have started all gameplay, all podcasting is done at 4K HDR 60 frames a second. Because Steve got asymmetric fiber. So I've got 1 gig up and 1 gig down now.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I figured use it. And of course, you can catch me in what is the Animal House Wasted with Wise podcast on Friday nights at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, that's it. I'm not even going to go there. Retro, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you at?
Twitter, man. XTSX Retro. That's all I'm on. Or your shows. That's about it, really. I don't really do a lot of podcasts and stuff. So
But you
Yeah.
do play a lot of games.
He spends too much time getting his ass kicked in GT7.
Oh,
doesn't happen. I'm in the
Shut
top 3%. All right. Don't you worry about it.
Mr. Faulkner, where can
Yes.
everybody find you at?
You can find me picking on Retro and his driving style.
Picking's an
you
awful
can't-
strong word for your henpecking, bro.
Oh, that's fair enough. So you can find me on Twitter at Forky87, or you can find me poking around on a couple of different podcasts here and there, usually around reporting seasons when you'll find me getting invites. Other than that, yeah, you see me here, there, and everywhere.
Mr. Logic, where can everybody find you at?
No, you can primarily find me here on the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube. You can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube. That is Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Eastern Daylight Saving Time now. So obviously we will be live at the normal time tomorrow night.
Don't worry about following me because I have no idea where the hell I'm at. So, but before I go, I do want to say this. Thank you to the gentleman here. I had plans on doing a lot more come the new year, and a little something got thrown into the it kind of like, you know, a little wrench into the engine, whatever you want to call it. So it pushed everything back. But I do want to thank these gentlemen for putting this on. Thank you to Logic for putting this on to his channel and that. It's much appreciated. He did a ton of work getting everything all set up. It just made it easier for me to sit here and, hey, here's the topic, you know, just go ahead and answer it. I appreciate all you guys doing this. It means a lot to me. Gave me at least 2.5 hours of, I don't got to deal with what's going on upstairs. So that's a personal thing, which you guys already know. But,
And I want to refine your thank you a little bit. So you're still going to be able to realize your plans, maybe a little bit slower, maybe incrementally. They will just originate here, and I will show you how to stream that to your channel. So
I'm going to put it to you this way. I think I told you guys, it's like a 12 to 16 week process, but that was starting in January. I'm hoping by summer, everything will even itself out to where I don't have to sit here and ask you guys to do all this work. I know it's a pain in the ass, and you guys don't mind doing it, but it throws
it's not a lot of work. It's not a lot of work, man, in your family. So
I
we'll
literally show up, man, and press a button.
we'll make it happen. We got your back.
I know you do, but you know, but the thing is you do a lot too. So don't sit there and
I just sit here and talk shit, man. I don't do nothing.
well, it takes a lot to do that. So that's the way it is. But I appreciate you guys. I love you guys for, you know, doing this for me and helping me out, man. If I didn't have glasses on, you see a couple tears. So thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, guys. So we're going to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I got to get showered and go see Hopper. And I'll be crying at that movie. So,
And I didn't explain it to you guys, so unfortunately, I'll do a little behind the curtain stuff on air here. When I hit end stream, it's going to play the outro music, and you guys will be muted for about 1 minute and 10 seconds, and then we'll be off the air, just so you know, so you're not surprised.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a good one.
Yeah, it's been fun.